Move all the way up to the other line there, friends.
I don't have my tiny glasses.
Your hands on the right, please watch those hands, our feet length. Your doors are closing. Asante Sana, we're going to, as we say here in Harambe, it's Monday, which means let's go. Hello everyone, welcome to the safari. My name is Tori and I'll be your guide today through the Harambe Wildlife Preserve. Before we start, I have a couple of requests for each and every one of you. The very first one is to please keep your face covering on over your nose and mouth throughout the entire safari. I have lots of fancy mirrors up here, and I will be keeping my eyes on every single one of you. And I have been known to call people out, so don't test me and we'll have the best time, everybody. Other than that, I will ask that you please remain fully seated with your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the truck. All that good stuff that you probably already know from all the other rides in Disney World. And please don't make any excessive noise with the animals. Please be happy. Please be excited. These animals are amazing. But don't try to beckon them to the truck. Don't try to like snap at them to get their attention, anything like that. And I will be pretty much okay with whatever else may come out of your mouth. Alright, so here we go into the Little Ituri Forest. The animals in the Little Ituri are very shy and reclusive, so they can tend to blend into the background. So keep your eyes open, let's see who we can find. On the right hand side with that stripy legs up there, that is an okapi. An okapi kind of looks like it's wearing some zebra pants, but it's actually not related to a zebra at all. It is the last known living relative of a giraffe. Scientists were able to connect those two species based on the fact that they have very similar skull structures. They have pretty much the same skull, and male okapis have ossicones, which are those tiny little antler horn things that giraffes have. On the left-hand side, that is a saddle-billed stork right there, that great big bird down there. Believe it or not, when that bird is standing up, he can stand about 5 feet tall, which is about 4.5 feet too tall for a bird, if you ask me. The reason that it's called the saddle-billed stork is because there's a little yellow marking on top of its bill that looks just like an English saddle. Like I said, the animals here in the Ituri have some really great camouflage methods. Most of them have some type of striping that runs up their body. And oftentimes, we won't be able to tell the difference between an animal that's standing very still and sunbeam shining through the trees. Coming up on the left-hand side, my friends, those really pretty copper-colored antelope up there, those are called bongos. Bongos are known as the ghost of the forest. They are so quiet and stealthy when they move through the Little Ituri, you hardly even know they're there at all. We are heading towards the Safi River now, where the animals hang out in or just around the water. So let's keep our eyes open. Sometimes these guys can be sneaky and hide from us under the surface. that is a Nile hippopotamus down there. Nile hippos are nocturnal, so they will sleep for most of the day and then come out and do their socializing at night. It's pretty rare to see them out of the water like that during the day because they have very sensitive skin. Their skin can get easily dried out, and nobody likes dry skin, right? So they prefer to spend most of their day fully submerged under the water, which is the exact reason that their eyes, ears, and nose holes are right on top of their heads, so they can fully submerge themselves and still have full use of their senses. On the left-hand side, those great big pelicans that are nesting there on the island are called pink-backed pelicans. They get that name because during mating season, the skin on their back will turn a light shade of pink. Something else that's pretty crazy is that those birds have a wingspan that can vary between 7 and 9 feet, which is roughly the width of the canopy above your head. My friends, a quick reminder to remain fully seated as we cross over this bridge. We are going over some Nile crocodiles. About as long as the giraffe is tall, somewhere between 16 and 20 feet long, and they can live to be up to 100 years old, so they've got quite the lifespan. They're also not mammals, so they will lay eggs, and once it's time for those eggs to hatch, they'll take them in between their teeth. They will roll those eggs around and crack the shell, which makes it so much easier for that baby to break through the shell and come into the world. Tree that we just passed on the right lets us know that we're heading towards the savannah, where we can tend to see some of the most familiar safari species. So let's head on down there and see who we can spot. A wildebeest. There are going to be a few more coming up here in a second. Wildebeest means wild beast in Afrikaans. They have the definition of herd mentality. They really like to stick together because it makes them feel nice and safe. Their natural instinct is to stampede, so if anything starts to feel a little bit too weird, they'll take off running in the same direction at the same time. But since they are very protected on the reserve, they are a little more inclined to go spend some alone time because nothing ever goes wrong here. They always find reasons to stampede. About a week ago, it was too windy, so they were running like crazy people. It was very interesting. My friends, here on the left-hand side, these are painted dogs. Painted dogs are some of the most successful hunters in Africa. They have about a 90% success rate, because they hunt together as a family, which gives them that really great success. Their markings are so unique that they can tell each other apart with one glance, and no two dogs will ever look just the same. A couple more wildebeest found up here on the left-hand side, and those antelope there with those really long, pointy horns. On the far left, past this bush, those are sable antelope. In the wild, they are very tough and territorial. They are some tough cookies, they like to say. They don't go down easily without a hard fight, which makes them the perfect symbol for the Harambe Wildlife Reserve. We fight every single day for conservation and to protect these animals for many years to come, which, like I said, makes the sable antelope the perfect symbol. On the left-hand side, these are a couple of Maasai giraffes. We can tell that they are Maasai giraffes by the way their spots look. The way I think of it, I think those spots look more like ink blots. They're all really unique, you know, to whoever quite look alike, just like human fingerprints. As compared to some other species of giraffes, like the reticulated giraffe, they also have really, really unique markings, but their spots will fit together more perfectly like puzzle pieces. Coming up on the right-hand side, I didn't see them when we were pulling in, so they must have just joined us. Those are Hartman's mountain zebras there to the right. The way that we can tell that they are mountain zebras is by the way the stripes come across the rump. They start very skinny and then go really wide as they come across the backside of the animal. Also, my friends, if you've ever asked if zebras are black with white stripes or white with black, take a look at the nose. It'll show you that animal's true skin color. Here on both sides of us, these are Ankole cattle or Watusi cattle. Those horns look like they would be very heavy, but they are surprisingly light. They're made up of a honeycomb structure inside, so they're mostly hollow. And throughout that honeycomb structure, there are blood vessels that pump pretty vigorously throughout the course of the day and help cool that animal off by about 10 degrees on hot days in Africa. Teeny tiny little antelope there on the right hand side are called springbuck. They are tiny little things. They only grow to be about 3 feet tall, but they are mighty. They can run up to 60 miles an hour. They can jump 6 feet up and 13 feet forward. So just to give you a little reference of what 6 feet looks like from this perspective, that's about to your armrest. So this tiny little 3-foot springbuck could jump straight up in the air, so his feet are up to the area of where you are resting your arm right now. On the left-hand side, that is another giraffe there.
Oh, he's up in there. Stand there.
One of my favorite facts to share about giraffes is that they have purple tongues. The reason for that is because when they eat from tall trees, they look right up at the sun, and for a long time in their lives, they were probably getting sunburned in their mouth, which sounds awful. And over time, as they changed into the giraffes that we know them as today, their tongues gradually turned from pink to that dark purple color that doesn't actually burn in the sun. On the left-hand side, these are mandrills. Mandrills are the largest monkey species, and right there on that little driftwood looking thing up on top of the rock, that's a baby. This big guy on the left is the male. The rest are females. Like I said, they're the largest monkey species, and the males can weigh up to 100 pounds when they're fully grown, so they can get pretty large. But the females come in significantly less at only about 30 to 40 pounds. Live in an area in Africa where there is lots of this really rare metal called coltan. Coltan goes into most of our electronics, cell phones, tablets, iPods, iPads, pretty much anything you can think of. It all has this really rare metal out of it, and we are making one too many trips to Africa to extract that metal from the earth, and the mandrills are suffering from habitat loss, which means that they're losing their home. If you want to do your part at home to help those mandrills out, make sure that they keep their lovely homes, you can just recycle your old electronics, whether they be old iPods, old cell phones that you don't use anymore, anything that's been in a drawer for more than 5 years that you haven't touched. I promise you won't miss it. If you take it to a Best Buy or a Walmart, they'll help you recycle it, and that metal will go back into circulation and be used in many, many devices to come. So if you feel like doing your part at home, I would suggest making that little donation. I feel like it's not too tough. And if everyone makes a little bit of effort, we can make a large difference in the long run. That's my favorite thing to say, because I really believe that a bunch of little changes can make one big change. this is a pool of greater flamingos. Greater flamingos are the lightest in color of all the flamingo species, and they get that light pink color from the beta carotene that comes from shrimp and krill. There are a few that look a little bit gray. Those are young ones and they're still working on their coloring. In the next few months or so, they should have that light pink color just like everybody else in the group. It looks like we're going to get pretty lucky, and there are going to be some white rhinos laying down here on the left-hand side. The white rhinos weren't always called a white rhinoceros. They were once called a white rhinoceros. White meaning white, which is the description of the shape of the upper lip. That's one way how you can tell the difference between a black and a white rhino is by the size and shape of the upper lip. Rhinos have a really poor reputation of being very aggressive all the time, which is kind of untrue, specifically with white rhinos. White rhinos are incredibly social. They really rely on a lot of social interaction with others of their kind. If you see, there's 4 of them right there all laying together. And my friends, if you notice that they all kind of have a little bit of an orangey tint to them, that is because they have really sensitive skin and they can sunburn really easily. So if they feel like they're getting a little too toasty, they'll find a nice cool mud pit like this one right here. They will plop down, they will roll around, that mud will coat their skin and cool them off. Kind of works just like sunblock. Alright, there's a cheetah here on the left-hand side walking right towards us.
See him up there?
And then there's another one laying down on the ground as well. Cheetahs are the fastest land animal. They can run up to 70 miles an hour, but they can actually only run that fast for about 30 seconds before they're able to get out of gas. They also have those really dark eyes. That kind of works the same way that eye black works for a football player. Those dark eyes help deflect the glare of the sun out of the big cat's eyes so it can see when it hunts during the day. Cheetahs aren't necessarily skilled enough to keep up with the big cats like lions that hunt overnight, so they do have to do their hunting during the day. There are a couple more here on the left. There's 2 there that are grooming. Aren't they pretty? We're pretty lucky to see them actually up and around because most of the time at this time of the day they are being little lazy bums. They love to lay in areas where it's really hard for us to see them, so that was pretty lucky to have seen them, I think. This big rock on the left is called a kopie. Kopies are often used by lions. They provide a nice vantage point of the savannah, and there are lots of nooks and crannies and caves and things that the lions can climb into to avoid the hot African sun. They are African natives, but they don't really love the heat, so they try to avoid it when they can. There are 2 lions here in the front. They both look to be females. And my friends, on the right-hand side, there are some ostriches. These ostriches are female, and you can tell by the color of their feathers. Males are black and white, and the females kind of have that taupey, grayish-brown look to them. Lions are very lazy. They will sleep for most of the day and then come out and do their, they're the most active overnight when they do their hunting. The females do the hunting and the males will play a little bit more of a stay-at-home dad role. There's another one right here on the left. That is the male. Male lions play a little bit more of a stay-at-home dad role. They'll stay back at the kopie and protect the pride. Believe it or not, that male's mane weighs about 40 pounds all by itself. So if you can imagine carrying 40 pounds of hair in your head all day, every day, it sounds very hot and very tiring, and quite honestly, I would probably sleep for 16 hours a day too. On the left-hand side, that is a warthog right there. Little Pumbas. Both male and female warthogs have tusks. So the only way to tell the difference is by how many warts they have. The males have 4 and the females only have 2. On the right-hand side, that really beautiful white-colored antelope is called a scimitar horned oryx. They are desert natives, and those light-colored coats help them stay nice and cool when they stand in the sun. And the great big eggs right there on the ground are ostrich eggs. This antelope here on the left is called a bontebok. They were nearly extinct. There were less than 20 left in the entire world. An African farmer realized that they were going to be gone forever, started rebreeding them and finally put them back down into the wild. And he made a huge difference all by himself. Their numbers have bounced back to about 1,000 now, so they're much better off than they were. They're not totally in the clear. But the remaining bontebok, or most of the remaining bontebok, I should say, live on protected reserves just like this one. Coming up on the left-hand side, we are going to pass the warden's post, and it looks like his Nigerian dwarf goats are hanging out here in the front yard. The warden and his staff care for those goats. They feed them, they love them, they protect them, give them a nice home, give them a nice warm bed. And in return, the warden will milk them and then share that milk with the rest of the village. They are very reliant on each other, and it is a very sweet and touching relationship that they have together. Friends, if you are hoping to see some more animals today, I recommend the Gorilla Falls Exploration Trail. Part of the trail is down for refurbishment at this time. They're fixing it up. But if you still want to see the gorillas, they are ready to be seen. And if you're lucky, you'll get to see baby Grace. She's just over 2 years old, and she's still very tiny, so she's really easy to spot. And they're so much fun to watch. So if you have the time, I recommend that. And then also over in Asia, there is the Maharaja Jungle Track where you can see tigers among other animals. So if you want to see some tigers, definitely head to Asia for that. They are super cool. And finally, I always recommend coming back and doing one more safari before your day is through. These are free roaming and wild animals that are here in the reserve, so no two safaris will ever look alike. And I can guarantee you the animals always make sure of that. If you hear that dinging down there, that is the Wildlife Express train. That train will take you over to Rafiki's Planet Watch. There are lots of really cool things to do over there at Rafiki's. It is a conservation station, so if you've seen that on a park map or somewhere in the park, that's where you're going to go, to Rafiki's Planet Watch. The train ride itself is only about a 5-minute train ride, and they'll take you on a little bit of a backstage tour to Animal Kingdom. You can see the animal barns and where they go at the end of the night, and occasionally, if they're not out on the safari with us at this moment, sometimes you'll see them backstage, which is pretty cool as well. There's also something called the affection section where you can pet goats, which is really fun. So if you want to go love on some animals, that's the place to go. There's something called the animation experience where an artist will teach you how to draw some of our favorite Lion King characters. And you can see right into the vet observation room. They have an observation room into the vet facility. So occasionally if they're doing a checkup on one of our animal friends, you can see that. That doesn't happen every single day. It's obviously nothing that's planned, because if nobody needs a checkup, then there will not be anything to see. But, like I said, occasionally, if you get lucky, that does happen every now and then. If I have any Wilderness Explorers on board, you're currently riding the Simba one, so remember that name so you can write it down in your booklet. It's S-I-M-B-A as in the number 1. If you're not a Wilderness Explorer, but you would like to be, I think they'll be out for another hour and 15 minutes. I think they're done at 5 o'clock. But if you wanted to get a couple of badges, I'm sure that they would help you with that. You'll just go to any Wilderness Explorer stand, Say that you're starting from the beginning, they'll give you a booklet and a little golf pencil, and you can travel all around the park and get badges and learn all types of really cool stuff. Unfortunately, my friends, a lot of the animals that we saw today are in a little bit of trouble, and a lot of them are a little bit endangered, which is really sad and scary. If you want to do your part at home to try to help these animals out, you can do things like recycle. Make sure your coffees, teas, and chocolates are sustainably sourced. Recycle your cups that you've used in the park today, whether that be plastic bottles or the plastic cups that you get from any specialty beverage like a Dole Whip, or if you get like an adult beverage from the bar. They come in those really large plastic cups, and those are all recyclable. Also, if you'd like to make a contribution to the Disney Conservation Fund, you can do that at any merchandise location. You can donate any amount, and Disney will match that donation dollar for dollar, cent for cent. And in return, you'll get a little button that says that you are a conservation hero. It's really cute. It's got an elephant on it. My friends, here in Harambe, we don't like to say goodbye. It's far too final and far too sad, so instead we say Quadrine, which means go well. Now, Quadrine, my friends, go well, go wild, go out there, and enjoy the rest of your day here in Animal Kingdom, or wherever your next adventure may take you. My friends, on the right-hand side, please watch those hands, arms, feet, and legs. Your doors are opening up. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for riding with me. Have a great rest of your day here in the park.